What's up, guys? It's Patricia from TarantulaHeaven.com. Welcome to Tarantula Tuesday. If you are new here, this is my spider. This beautiful spider is a G. rosea named Spidey. She's the star of the show. Right now she's being very still, but maybe she will move for us during this video. I don't know. And if you hear anything in the background, my jealous cat is up and about. Eating some treats right now, but she might start crying because it's around dinner time as I'm filming this, and she knows exactly what time dinner time is. So today I really wanted to talk about tarantula care, spider care, or basically pet care in general during, I guess this is going to be year 3 of the pandemic. I've definitely talked about tarantula care during the pandemic before, but my own experience has kind of given me a new perspective, and I wanted to talk about a few more things. So it seems like right now, in this new wave of COVID during the winter, we are seeing the new variant, the Omicron. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but the new variant seems to be more contagious than the other ones, and so more people are getting sick. Gone through the whole pandemic, being very lucky and fortunate not to have gotten COVID, but 2.5 weeks ago, I did. And, you know, from what people are saying about this virus and my own, I guess, experience and experiences of others that I know, this particular variant seems to be more cold-like, not as intense of symptoms as the others. And, you know, I was also lucky to be vaccinated. And so, you know, people will say that helps you with the symptoms. So myself, my whole house got it, actually. I got it, my boyfriend had it. And then I had seen that, I think a week before I had gotten it, Richard Stewart from the Tarantula Collective also got it. And I also, around that time, had many friends that had gotten it too. And so it seemed like everybody was, you know, kind of getting this variant at once and is still getting it. And through my own experience, I kind of wanted to talk about some other things that it made me think about. Now, I was very lucky. This doesn't happen for everybody. Everybody's body handles the virus, or any germy virus, or any illness really differently, but you know, COVID is certainly quite deadly, and I certainly feel for you if you have lost anybody throughout this time, or if you know anybody who has been very, very impacted with their health with this, or is having long-term effects. For me, it was cold-like symptoms. The most problematic thing that I experienced actually was the exhaustion, which kind of brings me to what I wanted to talk about today, because when the pandemic first began, what I was seeing more of on social media was more like food supply issues, like really worrying about, like the mail was a mess, for example. So people were really worried about not getting their spiders on time, or their packages not getting there on time, and they were receiving dead, injured, or sick animals, very dehydrated tarantulas. And they were also struggling to get their food for their tarantulas if they didn't have like a local store who sold the feeders. And so I had spoken a little bit about how to do tarantula care during the pandemic before, and like one of the things that I was suggesting was, you know, maybe switch to a better reproducing or more hardy feeders such as cockroaches, which is what I've been doing, and that's worked out really, really well. After I got sick with COVID, and after I saw Richard make a post about his experience with COVID, I started to think like there might be some other things that we can do to be prepared in case this happens. So like I said, and if you guys are familiar with my channel, you know that my collection is as tiny as they get. I only have 2 tarantulas. And honestly, I consider myself to only have 1 tarantula because Spidey's right here. She has been eating regularly. She has been out and about. My little Arizona blonde sling, who is like pretty much a permanent baby for the past few years, hasn't grown. They have been underground for like a year, and I see them digging around. I see them moving around on the sides of their enclosure, but like I have only seen this thing above ground. I can count on this hand how many times in the last 6 months. And, you know, I drop roaches down the hole every few weeks and hope that they're eating. I don't know what's going on. So my collection's very small and very easy to maintain, but I will say that when I was sick with the virus, I was so tired that I was sleeping through the days. Like, honestly, if it weren't for the jealous cat being greedy and like knowing her meal times, I wouldn't have even like been able to really keep her medications and her meals somewhat regular, because I was just so tired. I was sleeping all day. I didn't have any appetite, so I wasn't really waking up for my own meals too much. You know, my boyfriend was really, really good about making food for us and encouraging me to eat even when I had like zero interest in food. The jealous cat was the one who kind of kept me on top of her care as far as her medication and her meals, which, you know, she does take medication 2 times a day, and these medications are very, very important for her health because she is old and she has health conditions. So thank God for her, right? Thank God for her being such a little bossy cat. And with the spiders, though, I left them alone. I mean, they had water. This one doesn't eat very much. The other one doesn't eat very much. So they were fine for that week or so that I was like completely like sleeping on the couch all day. But, you know, one thing I saw Richard say in his post, and you guys know if you follow the Tarantula Collective, Richard has a collection. Like, he has a basement, a big basement full of, I don't even know how many tarantulas and other animals too. I know he keeps a lot of different variety of critters down there. And he said that in his post that when he had COVID, it was very hard for him to keep up. And I totally understand because, you know, we all experience this virus differently, but the exhaustion was something really, really hard to deal with and really hard to manage. And I can only imagine what somebody would go through if they actually had a lot of animals to monitor. And so that's what made me think about, you know, how can we kind of learn from this and how can we plan ahead for emergencies like this if we are not able to. Because it does bring up certain challenges, right? So like if many of us live with others, if you have a family and you live with roommates, you probably are all getting sick too, unfortunately, especially with this particular variant. Is very easily contagious. And so you might all be in a pretty bad way. And so it's really challenging to figure out how can you kind of enlist help, because it's probably not safe for a friend or somebody who's not sick to come in and care for your animals. But one thing that I did think about was, what if you had a designated person, somebody who could agree beforehand, hey, if I get sick or if I can't take care of my pets or my family or whatever, can you do it for, you know, a few days or a week or whatever that looks like? And, you know, maybe to make that possible, you have a plan for like where you're going to quarantine. A lot of people who have basements that are somewhat reasonable to stay in, they'll quarantine in the basement. I think that's a great idea. If you have a room that's kind of like away and hopefully like a separate bathroom too, so you're not really so much cross-contaminating areas, that is a great idea, but not many of us have this. So I was thinking that at the very least, if possible, could you put a plan into place where you could transfer your animals? Like, I think in a larger collection, this would be very hard to do. But if you had, you know, a dozen or so tarantulas, you could probably move them to a room where, you know, maybe if a friend is coming to take care of your tarantulas, what are your tarantulas while you're sick, they could kind of make a beeline for that room and come in and out of your house after taking care of the animals. And like, you wouldn't have to come in. They wouldn't have to contact with you. You wouldn't have to have contact with them. And so I was just kind of thinking, like, what are some creative solutions? Because this is really, really hard. Now, I do believe that the tarantulas are safe. I don't think that humans can pass illnesses like this to them just because of how different our bodies are. But I don't think that they can get this virus either. However, I was quite concerned about the jealous cat, because if you guys know the jealous cat, she is 18 and a half years old. And in human years, she is very much at risk. She is very elderly. And so I asked the vet, because I had to cancel one of her appointments due to me being sick and not being able to take her. I did ask, like, is there a risk for giving this to her, because she's already compromised with her health and she's older. And the vet was very comforting to say that, like, we have not seen an animal with this virus yet. It's incredibly rare, so you're probably going to be fine. But I was still very careful around her. I definitely didn't want to cuddle her or kiss her as much, which is really, really hard. And I honestly think that she knew I was sick and didn't want any part of it, because she pretty much stayed in like her own space during that time while I took over the couch and just laid there and slept. So she didn't come near me as much as she normally does, and she didn't want as much attention as she normally does. I guess, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because this thing is so easily transmitted. I just think that, you know, and maybe there's no graceful 100% solution here, but I just wanted to bring it out and put it out here, because luckily I have such a small collection, and my tarantulas had water and they were fine. They're not tarantulas that need to eat a lot. They actually hibernate in the winter anyway, and tarantulas are very hardy anyway. You know, we're so lucky, and they can actually go quite a long time without food and be pretty okay as long as they have access to water. But if you have a big collection, you might have tarantulas that you need to keep an eye on. You might, especially because like here it's winter, when we have heat running in our house, I notice that the water evaporates a lot faster. So you need to make sure that the water is there more frequently. If you have a bunch of tarantulas, you probably have ones that are molting at different times in the week. And so you might not be able to if you're very sick, and you're just struggling to, even getting up is really hard for you. You might not be able to check on them and see if they're having any bad molts, or if any of them are dehydrated, or if any of them have escaped, or things like that. So it could be, if you have the space in your house and like a good layout in your house, helpful to think about, you know, is it possible for somebody to come into my home who knows what they're doing, or at least is familiar with the process of caring for spiders, who can help me out, and how can we make that a safe process? Or if I get sick, you know, like let's say if you get sick, and you know, you don't have anybody who could do that, or you don't think it's safe to do that, make a plan for how you're gonna care for your spiders. Like maybe at the first sign of a cold, you start watering everybody, you start feeding everybody, just to make sure that in case you get worse and you actually do come down with this virus and you're down for a few days, everybody's been taken care of. So, or you might want to prioritize, right? So like if you've got a big collection, you might want to kind of make a list of like your high maintenance spiders are the ones who really need to be checked on, versus your low maintenance spiders. Because if you have limited energy, and if you are that exhausted, and like, you know that like realistically you're only going to be able to be up for like an hour a day because you're going to be sleeping, you want to make use of that time. You want to make sure that you eat, the animals eat, your family eats, and whatever you can do, and then, you know, go back to resting so that you can recover. I think that it's always good to have a plan instead of having like these oh crap moments, because I was so exhausted, honestly. Like the last thing that was on my mind was me eating, staying on top of a jealous cat schedule. It was just really, really hard. And I guess the other thing you could do as kind of like a backup plan, so like let's say if your tarantulas are in a separate room in the house, could you maybe set up some cameras? I think that this is really, really helpful. I have this for my cat, for not only like if you go away, for example, during the holidays or something. I mean, not many of us are traveling right now, but if you had to be away for a day or something for work or whatever it is, have cameras set up on your tarantulas enclosures in case one of them is out of water, in case one of them is having a molting problem, so that, you know, as you lay and try to recover, you can check on them still and not have to get up and waste energy in that way. So those are some ideas I had. I'm sorry if this doesn't make much sense. I'm trying to find ways to be helpful, but you know, it's just so hard when you're sick and you have such a contagious thing in your home. It's hard to find ways that people can help, and also how you can stay on top of things when you're really suffering. So I don't know if this is helpful. I thought that maybe this video might be, especially after reading Richard's post about how hard it was for him to really care for his collection the way he normally does, and how he had to catch up. And I truly empathize with that, because like I wasn't even on top of my own little collection during that time. So I hope that, you know, I hope you guys stay healthy, but I hope that if you do get sick, whether it's with the virus or a cold or whatever, that just having some sort of plan or like some sort of loose guideline of like, how will I handle this situation, could be really, really useful. On a positive note, I'm feeling way better. I'm very grateful for the experience that I had. I know that not everybody is so lucky. You know, if the exhaustion is the only thing I experienced, considering what I have heard others experience, I feel very fortunate. So if you guys have any other ideas or tips you can share for how you've handled maybe an illness or a surgery or not being able to care for your tarantulas, please share it, because I think that we can all help each other out in this area. And I'm sure that you guys have some really creative solutions to share about what kind of things you did to make it easier while you were sick. All right, take care, guys. Have a good Tarantula Tuesday and stay healthy. Bye-bye.